All right. Welcome. Welcome. Back again, once again, time and time again, my friend. And it is Monday, September the 19th. And we're just going to do a little market breakdown on a few of the pairs, mainly the big ones. I don't know if I'll do the exotics today or not. We'll see once we get to them. But as always, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, in between 5:30 and 6:30, we're going to have a market breakdown going over the pairs in the direction that I see them going in the near future. So, all the links in the description. Make sure you're subscribed so you get notified when I do go live, anytime I do, as well as post videos. And then once again, drop me a thumbs up, man, for the live stream. We're just gonna hop right to it as we normally do. Let's start it off. XAU USD from the monthly. We've been speaking about it. This is a monthly support area. You can expect some bounce out of here until it is broken through. On the weekly, we did get the breakthrough, and we are starting to retest this area. Once again, previous structure support broken to the downside, now being retested and acting as resistance. If we drop down on the daily, you can see that we've had this impulse to the downside, breaking structure almost perfectly is what we want to see. Just a nice and easy retracement over the next coming days could provide another setup to the downside for further continuation. XAG USD. Silver, we had spoke about it, that it was coming in to retest previous structure support that should act as resistance, and once again, until broken through. So we are starting to get that. We are starting to get a weekly push to the upside. We did have a weekly M formation that we've been speaking about over and over and over. Once again, things I teach over here cannot be disputed. They are fact. I teach facts. That way you can be consistent in your trading. If you learn something that is a fact, you can now take that knowledge and use it to back test, experiment, figure out some things that work for you. But as you see, we had an M formation that we want to see complete at the neckline. We got that perfect completion as we like to see. Once again, that pattern is an 80 to 90 completion rate, and it happens on almost all time frames with that high success. But as we are right now, we do have a nice and easy move to the upside. Go ahead and remove that. Have a nice and easy move to the upside. We're getting a correction. Could be interesting to see the next move to the upside, continuing this pattern. The most common pattern in the market, impulse or retracement. Another impulse making a higher high. So further continuation to the upside could be possible. On silver, if we jump over to platinum, XBT USD on the monthly, we are breaking above that monthly resistance. So bullish on the monthly. On the weekly, we are starting to make moves to the upside, starting to impulse, breaking above some weekly structure. So if we had some weekly structure in this area, we are breaking up above that. And if we drop down to the daily, we are starting an impulse to the upside. If we do get some sort of retracement, retesting back into this area, we could see further continuation to the upside. Now in this live stream, let's talk about all the time frames confluence. All the time frames having a confluence. So I want you to pay attention to how we're going through each time frame and looking for the direction, and the ones that have the most directions aligning, so they have, or the most time frames aligning up in the same direction, are providing the best opportunities. So on all three of these, we had the monthly moving to the downside. We had the weekly, we had the monthly moving to the downside. We had the weekly moving to the downside, but we had the daily starting a retracement. So it's not a good opportunity yet. Once all of them are in alignment, then it would be a good opportunity. XAG, you have the monthly moving up, but we are coming into previous structure support, now turned resistance. But on the weekly, we are starting to make moves to the upside, coming into previous structure support, now turned resistance. And then on the daily, you can see that we did come into previous structure resistance. And we just want to see it broken to the upside. So all time frames are moving to the upside. We just have a little bit of resistance, but they are providing a good opportunity for continuation to the upside. XBT USD monthly moving up, weekly moving up, and daily moving up. So once the retracement does come, all time frames will be in alignment, be a good opportunity. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. But if we do look at US oil, on US oil, once again, previous structure resistance that should now act as support. This is a monthly TMCP. So if we do get the rejection out of this area, push to the upside could provide opportunities for a while. If we drop down to the weekly we are coming into this area. We are starting to get a little slow momentum as we start to make our way back down in here. We are not breaking with strong candles to the downside, so we could see a possible rejection out of this area and then start to break up. But if we do drop down to the daily time frame on US oil, you can see once again we could be creating not only one but two bottoms in this area where we could expect a move to the upside. So for right now on the daily time frame, we would still need to see US oil break some structure to the upside before we start to look for buy opportunities, because if it does give us the buys, it will be giving us buy opportunities for a long time. So there's no need to jump in them early on trying to be right. It's better to let the market indicate that you're right before you get in. So if we look at Euro USD from the monthly time frame, once again, we were moving to the downside with extreme velocity and volatility. If we look at it from the weekly, you can see we are starting to get a nice and easy move to the downside, breaking structure, coming back for a retracement, retesting previous structure, support, now turn resistance. You want to see a continuation to the downside out of that. Not only that, we did have a weekly in formation that we wanted to see complete at the neckline. We got exactly that with the 80 to 90 completion rate. And then if we drop down to the daily time frame, you can see we came right into this area that was not only important structure once, twice, thrice, and on the fourth time we got the rejection to the downside. So if we do look at it from the daily time frame, we are starting to get a slow retracement to where if we start to see the next impulse starting around this area, it would be a good opportunity to go ahead and look for the move to the downside. Because as stated out in about 2 or 3 weeks ago, this was the overall target that I had Euro USD coming to the downside. So this could line up perfectly with where I want to see that. So I would be looking for that opportunity. GBP USD from the monthly time frame, pushing to the downside. Weekly pushing to the downside, just broke below weekly structure. So we had previous structure support right in here on the weekly, broke it to the downside. Now acting as resistance. If we drop down to the daily, you can see we did break below this area, but we did not get a full impulsing down, breaking down below, which we probably needed one more candle for that. But as of right now, we've rejected one time and we've rejected one more time again until we do get the retracement ended. Just no point in looking for moves to the downside on this market. But once the retracement does end, depending on how the setup looks and where it did end at, it could be a good opportunity to look for the move to the downside. But as of right now, not really. Monthly on AUD USD pushing to the downside, breaking below some structure. On the weekly, we are pushing to the downside, breaking below some structure. So we have previous structure support in this area that should be acting as resistance if tested again. And then on the daily, just not really anything ideal for what we used to trade over here. We are coming into an important area. So right around in here, we do have support that could push the market to the upside. So until we start to see either a breakout to the downside out of this area with a nice and easy retracement, or a move to the upside breaking some structure, nothing really too good on AUD USD. If we look at USD CAD, last time we spoke about it, we were making moves to the upside and just creating higher lows on its way up. Now on the weekly, we did have a move to the upside where we broke above some structure. So we do have some previous structure resistance that should act as support. On the daily, we did break above this area. If we do get a nice and easy retracement back down in here, we could see a continuation to the upside after that retracement has ended. NZD USD pushing to the downside on the monthly. On the weekly, we are pushing to the downside. And then on the daily time frame, we do have some structure that we would need to see broken to the upside before we start to look for any buy opportunities. And then as well, if we're looking for anything to the downside, we would like to see a break of structure with an impulse of all the same colored candles before we start to look for any more continuations. USD CHF. If we do go to USD CHF, I've been speaking about it. Once again, the monthly doesn't change too much, but we are in the most common pattern in the market. Even though we did get rejected from these highs in here, we are starting to make a move back up to the upside, pushing and rejecting. But if we look at it on the weekly time frame, we had a very massive bearish candle with a lot of momentum pushing to the downside a couple weeks ago. So depending on if this structure level gets broken on the daily, it could be an opportunity for us to look for a move to the downside for the continuation as it is right now. So with the market the way it is now, but if it does decide to break above some daily structure, we would then become bullish on the daily once again. But with all this in here, that is a lot of momentum to the downside. But as it is right now, just a move to the downside could be possible for a further continuation. Now, if we do go over to USD JPY from the monthly time frame, it's been bullish for a while, so pushing to the upside. On the weekly, we are pushing to the upside. And then on the daily, you can see that we are in this area right here that could act as structure resistance. It's been hit not only once, but twice and rejected both times. From there, if we do start to get the break below, we could expect further continuation to the downside for it to complete just the weekly W formation. So we've had this move to the downside, explosion to the upside. We know the market likes to complete at the neckline, but more importantly, we just want to see it complete at the 382 of the overall impulse taken. Give me 1 second. GBP NZD on the monthly. We do have this area right in here that is acting as structure support. So we've gotten a bounce into it once. Another bounce into it could possibly provide a move to the upside, rejecting from this double bottom. But if we look at it on the weekly, we are starting to come in what would be previous structure resistance, not only once, but twice once again. It would be interesting to see if the market wants to break above this area. But if we do look at it on the daily time frame, we are pretty much set up perfectly for an impulse to the upside, some sort of retracement. And then we do want to see a continuation to the upside once again. So that is probable on GBP NZD. Now, if we go over to GBP CHF on the monthly time frame, pushing to the downside. On the weekly time frame, pushing to the downside. On the daily time frame, looks as if we want to start the retracement. Could be interesting to see how deep this retracement comes before it starts the continuation to the downside, if it wants to continue to do that. But other than that, we have several levels of structure that are keeping us down underneath all this area. So we would need to see a lot of levels of structure broken, created and broken again before we start to look for buy opportunities on this pair. Euro NZD from the monthly time frame, been speaking about it. We have the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder over in here. We expect to move to the upside, and that is on the monthly. On the weekly, we are exploding to the upside. Right now, we are starting to get a little extended, so we could expect some retracement at some point. But as of right now, if we just drop down to the daily time frame, we are above previous structure resistance that should act as support if it wants to continue to the upside. CHF JPY on the monthly time frame pushing. On the weekly time frame pushing to the upside as well. On the daily time frame, looks as if we want to start the retracement. If we do get a little deeper retracement right around in this area, we could possibly see further continuations to the upside for a higher high to be completed. Euro GBP on the monthly pushing to the upside. On the weekly, we're pushing to the upside as well. And on the daily, we just completed this impulse where if we do get a retracement back down in here, we could look for the continuation to the upside once again. AUD CAD monthly was starting what was looking like the perfect impulse to the downside, come back for the retracement, continue the impulse, creating a lower low. But so far this month, we are starting to retrace a little bit after we've made this move to the downside. We still have some slow retracement candles and these bullish candles on the weekly. And if we do drop down to the daily time frame, it's really just kind of ugly unless you understand the patterns. So we've had the W formation right in here that we got completed at the neckline. Then we started to make a move up, and then we've also created another move to the downside, move up, move back down, move back up, completion at the neckline as well. So we've had back-to-back W formations complete, which could possibly provide a move to the upside, because we would have all this area as structure support, all this area being retested again. You know, after a double bottom, you expect to move to the upside, breaking the neckline. So nothing really too interesting on AUD CAD. If we do go down to AUD CHF on the monthly time frame, we kind of have that same pattern. We have a nice and easy move to the downside, the retracement, continuing the momentum and the trend, creating a lower low. So we're moving to the downside on the monthly AUD CHF. If we look at it from the weekly, we did get these breaks below the structure where we were trapped in between this area for a while. If we do get some sort of retracement back on the daily, which would be ideal, depending on how the retracement comes, we could possibly see the continuation to the downside once again. If we do go to GBP JPY on the monthly time frame, we are starting to make moves to the upside. If we look at it from the weekly time frame, you can see that we did break above some structure, came back for the retracement, and just want to see the continuation to the upside once again. If we look at GBP JPY from the daily time frame, we do have this M formation right in here that we should expect a completion, which could obviously provide the continuation to the upside exactly as we would like to see. So we could have this completed, and then from there, just further continuation for a higher high to be completed. AUD NZD on the monthly, moving to the upside. If we do look at it from the weekly time frame, we did break above the weekly structure. And if we look at it from the daily time frame, now that we are above all this structure, if we do get some sort of retracement back down into this area, depending on when the impulse completes, we could look for the continuation to the upside as well. So we could see further continuation before a retracement. CAD JPY on the monthly time frame, pushing to the upside. On the weekly, we are starting the retracement, which is what is needed in order to see continuations to the upside. And if we do look at the daily time frame, once again, down, up, down, we can expect a completion at the neckline for the pattern to complete, which could be the initiation of the next impulse to the upside as well. If we do go to Euro CHF on the monthly time frame, we are breaking below some monthly structure. But once again, this is a monthly candle. We still have 11 days until this candle closes. So the way that it is right now is not necessarily the way that it needs to be. On the weekly, we are rejecting previous structure support, which we can expect a move to the upside. We've had previous structure support right in here. Came down, acted as support once again, which is a double bottom. We can expect a move to the upside of a neckline break. These are facts, something you can't be disputed. All these patterns happen over and over and over. I want you to pay attention and start to be able to identify these patterns just from looking at the chart. It will help you immensely. So now out of this double bottom, we are starting to make moves to the upside, and this is on the daily. If we do get a retracement and then another move to the upside, breaking structure, after that break of structure, we could look for the retracement and continuation to the upside. Euro JPY monthly, pushing to the upside. On the weekly, we just came into this resistance area It would be nice to see what's going to happen from here from a weekly time frame perspective. But as it is right now, we are kind of trapped at these highs. You don't really want to buy at the highs. You want to wait for the price to give you a better opportunity for you to buy. So what I would be looking for on this is a little deeper retracement back down, but we did get the move to the upside exactly as we wanted to see from previous live streams. So either or, I would like to see the market break down to the downside before I start to look for a move to the upside, or I would like for it to break above this structure and then give me a retracement for the continuation as well. Euro CAD trade we were running last week that ended up hitting take profit. But from the monthly time frame, we did have some support in this area. We had some resistance, previous structure support that should act as resistance right in this area. Just imagine it's going to play in between these two zones. So on the weekly, we did have a move to the upside. We want to see the next candle fill in the wick, which we did get the next candles to fill in this wick of this candle here. Spoken about it. Once you have a candle that looks like this, you can expect for the next candles to fill in the wick, which is exactly what we got. And then if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see we just had more of the same, the most common pattern in the market. Just a simple impulse breaking structure, coming back for a retracement, retesting previous structure, and then continuing the trend to make a higher high. Once again, nice little trade we had, which did end up hitting take profit for 231 pips, a nice 3R risk to reward ratio. Let's see if we can repeat. Now, if we drop down to AUD JPY on the monthly time frame, pushing to the upside. On the weekly time frame, starting the retracement, coming back to retest what would be some previous structure resistance that should now act as support, which we are starting to get that. We do have a move up, move down, move up, move down as well. Want to see that pattern complete at the neckline, which could provide further continuation to the upside. As it is right now, I probably need to see some structure broken before we start to see moves to the upside. But I would be looking for more continuations. CAD CHF from the monthly time frame, we've seen this a few times from the monthly time frame, which is a nice and easy move to the downside, a retracement, and then further continuation to the downside to complete the trend. So we are bearish on the monthly. On the weekly, we are pushing to the downside as well. We've broken below some weekly support that should act as resistance if it does get retested. And then if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that we are below some daily support in this area. I don't expect a retracement too deep, but if we do get a retracement into this area, it could be possible to see the continuation. We've had some slow retracement candles so far. Euro AUD from the monthly time frame, rejecting previous structure support. We have a double bottom in this area. We could expect further continuation to the upside for the neckline to be broken until shown otherwise. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, you can see we are starting to explode out of this area. But once again, we do have a move down, a move up, an explosion to the upside that we would like to see completed at the neckline before we start to look for continuations to the upside, just because it would put us in a perfect situation. But as we look at it on the daily time frame, you can see that we have several levels of structure that wouldn't be ideal if broken. It would cause a little more patience. We would need to see broken back again before we start to look for opportunities to the upside. But as it is right now, we do have previous structure resistance that should act as support in order to see more continuation to the upside on this pair. GBP AUD monthly time frame, pushing to the downside, getting rejected of previous structure support, now acting as resistance. On the weekly, we are below structure support, so we are below weekly support that should act as resistance. And then on the daily time frame, you can see that we've broken below what would be some structure, support, and resistance in this area. And so we got it acting as resistance over here. Came back, had a little bit of trouble breaking below it. Then from there, acted as resistance once again, a support, broken to the downside, now acting as resistance. So from here, really, we're just trapped in this area. You really want to just see a break either to the downside or to the upside before you start to look for opportunities. Don't complicate trading, man. If it doesn't look ideal, stay away from it. We've gone over how many pairs so far, and we still have plenty more to go through. So don't get caught up trying to trade one pair or a few pairs. If you only trade a few pairs, you're cutting yourself short, because your strategy should work on all pairs. It should be a strategy. It shouldn't be dictated by what pairs are going on. I should be able to apply my strategy on anything that has candlestick. So don't cut yourself short by just trading a few pairs, guys. Really try to maximize your opportunities and look at all the pairs that you can, as many pairs as you can. Give yourself the best opportunity to look for the best probabilities, and that's only going to be done if you can look at multiple pairs. But if we check out GBP CAD from the monthly pushing to the downside, on the weekly extremely overextended to the downside, where we are starting the retracement on the weekly, which would be nice. As of right now, we are above some structure. If we do get a break below this area, we could see a continuation to the downside. But if we do get a break above, we could see a move to the upside for a deeper retracement that is expected. So if we look at the weekly, we could expect more moves to the upside, just simply because we are so overextended. Let's move down to NZD CHF from the monthly time frame. Once again, move to the downside, weak retracement, continuation to complete the next impulse. So we are bearish on the weekly, pushing to the downside. And then as well on the daily, kind of consolidating right now. If we get a break above and we start to see structure broken, we could look for a possible retracement back into the weekly support that should now act as resistance. But if we do start to see a break to the downside, we could look for further continuation to the downside as well. We have NZD CAD from the monthly time frame, on the monthly pushing to the downside. If we look at it on the weekly, pushing to the downside as well, starting to break below the structure. And if we do look at it from the daily time frame, we've had a nice and easy move down, retracement. Just want to see another continuation to the downside to complete the pattern as well. But for me, I will be waiting for the break, the retracement, and continuation if it does want to give me so. Give me 1 second, and I think we'll do the exotics. We'll go ahead and go over the exotics too, but give me 1 second. Let me grab a drink. Okay. NZD-JPY. I think it's the last one of the crosses. NZD-JPY monthly time frame pushing to the upside above some monthly resistance currently as it is right now. On the weekly, we did break above some weekly resistance, but we immediately broke back into this area, which is the start of what pattern? If you already know, if you're in the course, you already know. We have the left shoulder here. We have the head. And then if we do get some more breakdown, we could expect that this is going to be the right shoulder for further continuation to the downside, just simply off the way that this pattern is right now on the weekly. If we do check it out on the daily time frame, we can see that we have this M formation on the daily. that you would like to see complete at the neckline, which lines up perfectly with the left shoulder acting as the right shoulder for the resistance, a level that we like to see it come into for a continuation to the downside, just to complete the most common pattern in the market. So that's my plans. For this, I'd like to wait for the retracement back up into this area and then look for the continuation to the downside as well. So since I said it, let's go ahead and check it out. The exotics, AUD, SGD, from the monthly time frame, we are pushing to the downside. On the weekly time frame, we're currently below weekly support that should act as resistance once it does get retested. But as it is right now, it's just really sloppy as far as price action. Nothing really too exciting on this pair. I'm going to either wait for structure to be broken either way before I look for an opportunity on this market. So as it is right now, really nothing to get excited about. USD PLN on the monthly time frame pushing to the upside. Looks like we might start the retracement, or at least give us what would be the start of the retracement with this monthly candle. If we look at it from the weekly time frame, though, on the weekly, we have came into some weekly resistance, but as it is, we do have a nice to where we'd like to see the continuation to the upside if it does want to go ahead and provide that. Now, if we look at it on the daily time frame, you can see that these time frames do not correlate with each other because we are in different phases and different market structures on all time frames. So on the daily, we are really below some daily structure. Let me zoom in. We have a lot of daily structure. We have a supply and demand candle right in here. That is also as well acting as structure. We also have another supply and demand candle right around in here that does line up perfectly with all this structure support that should act as resistance. So we need to see several levels of structure broken to the upside on the daily before we start to look for buy opportunities. And then as it is right now, this correction candle was a little bit too strong to look for continuation opportunities to the downside. So really, it's either break down or break up. Don't complicate it. We have more pairs to go through. USD Thai baht, the monthly time frame pushing to the upside, weekly pushing to the upside, daily pushing to the upside as well. I like to see more than one retracement candle before I start to look for opportunities. We did get 2 retracement candles. This could be a good opportunity to see a move to the upside for a higher high to be created. All the time frames are aligning. If we look at Euro PLN on the monthly, they're coming into previous structure resistance that should now act as support once again. If we look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see that we are starting to make a push out of this area. We did have this funky makeshift left shoulder here, head, and then we do have the right shoulder here, which is failing to break below the left shoulder, break and close below. If we do start to get a little bit more bullishness out of this, let's take a look at it on the daily time frame. A little bit more bullishness breaking above some structure out of this, we could possibly see a continuation to the upside on Euro PLN. So if we do go over Euro SEK, and we go to the monthly time frame, on the monthly, we are pushing above some monthly resistance, so pushing to the upside on the monthly. On the weekly, we are pushing to the upside as well. And if we look at it from the daily time frame, you can see that we are starting to break above some structures. So if we get a nice and easy retracement, we could look for the continuation to the upside as well. USD SEK, monthly pushing to the upside, weekly coming into previous structure resistance, now acting as resistance once again. And then on the daily, we are starting to make moves to the upside, but I don't like these imposed candles right here. I would need for it to break the resistance and then give me an opportunity the way that it is right now. Euro SGD. Monthly time frame, we had some monthly support in this area. From support, we expect a bounce out of that area. On the weekly, we are starting to make moves to the upside. On the weekly time frame, just broke above some structure, which could be classified as left shoulder here. Head, immediate break back into the area, come back and retest the left shoulder, but do not break and close below. Then we could likely to see an explosion to the upside and further continuation, which would provide a good retracement. But if we do look at it on the daily time frame, we have some daily resistance that we would need to see broken, especially after this bearish candle here, a bit extreme. Just a nice and easy break above structure would give us or put us in a setup that we would like to see the continuation to the upside, that I would like to see the continuation to the upside. USD SGD monthly time frame pushing to the upside, weekly pushing to the upside, and on the daily right at resistance. So keep it simple, just wait for the break above, then look for the continuation. Euro ZAR monthly time frame pushing to the upside, weekly time frame pushing to the upside as well. And on the daily time frame, we do have an impulse to the upside. If we were provided with a nice and easy retracement, could see a continuation to the upside. GBP DKK monthly pushing to the downside, weekly pushing to the downside, daily just had an impulse to the downside. If it does provide a nice and easy retracement, continuations to the downside could be possible. GBP NOK rejecting previous structure support, major area of support. So this has just been trapped in between this area for quite some time now, since 2021, so about a year. It's been trapped in between. If we do look at it from the weekly time frame, we can see that we do have a weekly W formation that could possibly come back, provide a completion at the neckline before continuing to the upside. And if we do look at it from a daily time frame perspective, we can see that we do have what we wanted to see was a move to the downside after this retracement had started, and then a continuation. But now that we are breaking above, we need to see a clear break above structure before we start to look for any opportunities. SGD JPY monthly time frame pushing to the upside, weekly starting what would be the retracement, but on the daily, as you can see, we had this resistance area right in here that did push market to the downside. So if we do start to see further continuation to the downside, break some more structure, I would then like to see structure broken back up to the upside before I start to look for buy opportunities. USD ZAR monthly pushing to the upside, weekly pushing to the upside as well. And then if we look at the daily time frame, we are breaking above some daily structure where if we get a retracement, could see a continuation to the upside happen. GBP SEK monthly really kind of trapped in between this area as well. We were starting to make moves to the downside last week, but as it is right now, just simply trapped in between this area. We had what would be a nice impulse retracement and want to see the next impulse provide itself, but then after this rejection from these highs and this slow consolidation, it looked like it was providing something to the downside. But as it is right now, nothing really too interesting. If we look at it from the weekly time frame, you can see that we have some weekly support in this area that the market could bounce out of. And then on the daily as well, we do have a double bottom forming on the daily that could provide a possible move to the upside. But either way, nothing really too ideal. Best to just stay away from a pair like this until the direction is clear. And GBP SGD from the monthly time frame. My boy J Stab was happening. Welcome. Getting it in. GBP SGD from the monthly time frame. On the monthly, pushing to the downside. On the weekly, pushing to the downside as well. We are below weekly support that should act as resistance. So currently, as it is right now, we do want to see this area act as some sort of resistance because we just made a move to the downside. If we do get a nice and easy retracement, we could see a possible continuation to the downside on GBP SGD. You know, it's always welcome. Everybody is welcome. We welcoming everybody over here. NOK SEK from the monthly time frame, making moves to the upside, putting us in a position to see the most common pattern in the market. It happens over and over and over and over and over and over, more times than any other pattern. We just want to see a continuation to the upside as well. And now on the weekly, we did get a retracement back down to previous structure resistance. That should now act as support. So we could see a bounce from this area to make a move to the upside. As it is right now, we need to see some structure broken to the upside to put us in a bullish daily structure to look for the continuation. But once that does happen, this could be a good longing opportunity. NOK JPY from the monthly. And once again, pay attention to the pairs that are most clear in direction. They're clear in direction on all three time frames. So take that with you if you do learn anything. If we're looking at NOK JPY on the monthly time frame, same thing once again. Breaking above structure, coming back for the retracement. After the retracement, you just want to see a continuation to the upside for a higher high. The most common pattern, impulse, retracement, impulse. But if we do look at the weekly time frame, we have a weekly structure right in here that we want to see the market break above. If we look at it on the daily time frame a little more in detail, this is the area that we need to see broken. But what's the pattern we've been talking about? A few of the patterns. We do have a move to the upside, coming back, move to the upside, and then you just want to see that completed at the neckline. So the day trading strategy, go look at my page, check out my channel. I'm sure that that one's up and rolling. It's one of those, how do I trade the market on all pairs, all time frames, or something like that. Check that one out, man. I go over this in detail, a little more detail. But if you want the most detailed explanation of how I trade, go ahead and click the link in the description. It will take you straight over to the course, which you get everything over there. USD NOK from the monthly time frame, pushing to the upside. Weekly time frame, pushing to the upside as well, breaking above some weekly structure currently. Then on the daily, as you can see, we did break above some structure. If we get a nice and easy slow retracement, we could possibly see the continuation to the upside out of this pair. Euro NOK. On the monthly, we have left shoulder here, head here, right shoulder here, failing to break below and close below the left shoulder. And then from there, we've started to get the explosion to the upside, exactly as we'd like to see. If we look at it from the weekly time frame, the market can't go in one direction forever. So even though we are starting to break above some weekly structure, a retracement would put us in a good position to further the continuation to the upside as well. And that's on the weekly. And then on the daily, a little more in detail, is that fact that we are breaking above some structure. If we come back for a nice and easy retracement, we could see the continuation to the upside. USD CNH. Monthly time frame, extremely bullish. Weekly, extremely bullish. Daily, currently above daily resistance. Previous structure resistance now acting as support. Could see the continuation to the upside out of this pair. Just look at how all three time frames are in alignment. Monthly's pushing up, weekly's pushing up, daily is currently retesting previous structure resistance. That should now act as support. We've started to get the push to the upside. A further continuation could be possible. USD ZEK Corona, CZK, monthly pushing to the upside, weekly pushing to the upside as well, coming back to retest previous structure resistance. That should now act as support. And then on the daily, as you can see, we have what could possibly be left shoulder here, head, come back, retest this area, but do not break and close below. And then a further continuation to the upside. So just want to see a move to the upside away from this area, really. Let's go USD DKK. Monthly time frame pushing to the upside. Weekly currently retesting previous structure resistance. That's now acting as support. It looks like we're starting to make a push to the upside as of right now. If we look at it from the daily time frame, you can see that we almost have the same chart as USDZ Corona. We got some structure right in here. We got some other structure that could potentially hold the market to see a continuation to the upside. So don't complicate it. Just want to see a move to the upside out of this area. USD Huff. Been extremely bullish for a while. Looks like we might start the retracement, and that's on the monthly, but USD has been doing some crazy things. All these USD pairs are correlated, so they'll tend to do the same things or move in the same way. But as we look at it on the weekly time frame, we have previous structure resistance right in here that is holding the market. We could possibly see a continuation to the upside depending on how these daily candles form. We have, once again, they are correlated, so they will tend to show some of the same things, where we could possibly see a move to the upside depending on how tomorrow's daily candle closes. So if it closes below the left shoulder, then it is an invalid inverted head and shoulders. But if we fail to close below, we reject a little bit, we could see further continuation to the upside just from what that pattern provides over and over and over and over and over on multiple time frames, multiple times. But let's go over USD Mexican peso. We've been speaking about it, really trapped in between this area, but we are pushing to the downside on the monthly, but we are coming into previous structure support that should act as support once again. And if we look at it from the weekly time frame, you can see we are getting rejected out of this area, but once again, we are starting to push into here. Nothing really too interesting to be worried about. We did have a move to the upside, started the retracement, looked to further the next impulse, make a move to the upside, ended up getting rejected, and now we've broken down below some daily structure. So nothing really too interesting. We just want to see a move to the downside for a retest if we want to look for that, but we would need to see a lot of structure broken to the upside before we start to look for buy opportunities. So nothing really too interesting on USD Mexican peso. Keep it simple and look for the clear opportunities. Once again, don't just really trade 2 or 3 pairs. Try to expand your watch list, which will give you the best opportunities to trade the highest probability setups. Because once again, your strategy should provide you with setups regardless of the pair. You should be able to look at the candlestick chart and be able to find opportunities as well. That's the way your strategy should work. It should not work only on certain pairs. If you are gambling. But last but not least, let's go over BTC USD. We've spoke about it multiple times. Previous structure resistance should now act as support. We did get a little bounce out of that. We are starting to come into this area once again. If we look at it from the weekly time frame, we've had a bounce once. We came into this area once again, the double bottom until broken below. We could expect that the market is going to explode to the upside because it would have failed to break below the previous low. If we look at it from a daily time frame, go back to the weekly, we had our M formation completed, 80 to 90 completion rate on these patterns right at the neckline. Once again, things that I teach cannot be disputed. They are the truths in the market. They happen over and over and over right in front of your eyes. There's no gimmicks. There's just things in the market that are true that help me to build strategies around the truths of the market. So after we got this completion, it put us in a position to look for the continuation to the downside because we are now in an impulse retracement and impulse phase once again. So like I said, that the truths in the market can't be disputed, but on the weekly, we did get that M formation, M pattern completed. We are starting to make moves to the downside once again. Currently, we are starting to get rejected from these lows. So even though we wanted to see the market stay above this area on the daily time frame from previous live streams, now that we've gotten the break below, we did get the retest perfectly, and then we are starting to get the continuation to the downside. After this rejection from these lows, I would just be patient and wait for either a clear break back down below some of this structure before you start to look for moves to the downside, or I would wait for a clear break of structure indicating which direction this market wants to go, because monthly is currently pushing down, weekly is currently pushing down, but we are at previous structure support that should act as support. So a little confusing there. And then the daily just got rejected from the lows after attempting to make a lower low. So monthly's pushing down, daily's pushing back up, and weekly is undecided currently as it is. Stay away from this pair until the direction is clear. So that's pretty much it. How long was this one? A little longer, 50 minutes. I think it's the first one that hit 50. Usually we try to keep it around 40, but I wanted to take my time and talk about a few things. Really make sure your directions are in alignment, and then as well, trade multiple pairs, put multiple pairs on your watch list. If you do not have a strategy that you can trade on any instrument, on any commodity instrument pair, it don't matter if it's Bitcoin, don't matter if it's Amazon or USD CHF. It's all the same thing. Check the link in the description. It is linked to my program, which will give you everything you need to trade any market almost all the time. So yeah, with that said, make sure you expand your watch list, and then as well, if it's not clear in the direction of where the market wants to go, just stay away from it, move on to the next pair. There's plenty of pairs that you can trade, or instruments or anything. So those are my 3 tips for this live stream. Other than that, I'm gonna get up out of here. Hope y'all having a profitable day on and off the charts. And remember, Monday, Wednesday, Friday in between 5:30 and 6:30. Let me know if those times are okay. I might start a little earlier because that is kind of late in the day for me being up early. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section. I don't see anything in the chat other than my boy Jay Money. No pairs anybody wants me to go over. Okay. So I'll holler at y'all on Wednesday in between 5:30 and 6:30. Once again, we'll just check back and see what's changed in the market over these last couple days. But that's it. I holler. Peace.